Hi, everybody. How are you doing? I am True Crime Jules. I don't know if you guys noticed it or not, but I managed to merge the two between my true crime content, which is allegedly innocent, and the original name from years and years and years ago before I was a content creator and I was simply a subscriber, Jules of Thought. I'm now True Crime Jules. So I got to get used to saying that. So welcome. I am True Crime Jules, and this is allegedly innocent. And thank you for being here today. I am going to be doing a deep dive into the Rex Heuermann case a little bit later on today. I've got some documents to go through and show and whatnot. But I had something else. I wanted to put on my psychologist hat. It is true. I am actually a licensed psychologist in real life. I don't play one on YouTube. Occasionally, though, that's my training. It's my profession. It's what I do. And so occasionally I do kind of pull out the psychologist hat and become Dr. Jules. And so I'm going to kind of do Dr. Jules today. Okay. Well, for this video, there'll be another video later on that'll be 100% allegedly innocent. But for right now, we're going to do Dr. Jules. Okay. So here's what I want to do. I want to talk about like Rex Heuermann, but we're going under the assumption that Heuermann is in fact guilty of what he has been accused of being guilty. That he is the accused Long Island serial killer. Currently, he is charged with 3 deaths. There is a 4th that is under investigation, and the law enforcement has named him as the prime suspect with that 4th. But in all, in this area near to his home, there have been 11 bodies and possibly more. Now, the situation's complicated just a little bit because there were other active serial killers in this area at the same time as when these young women, 1 toddler and 1 man, all went missing and were ultimately murdered. So one of those serial killers, has been relatively recently, he's in jail serving time. I kind of think that Karen Vergata, I kind of think that she might actually have been either she is the victim of Bitleroth, or who is in jail. He would kill his victims, and then he would separate them from their appendages and decapitate them, and then pieces of them would be found, along the eastern seaboard. And so maybe the newly identified victim, Karen Vergata, perhaps she is his victim. But we'll find out more, I think, as this goes on. They've got a couple more bodies that they're still identifying. Karen was victim number 7. But I think that, they still do have some that are being identified numerically. But they do believe they know who they are. They are simply searching for family members to, inform them before they release it to the public, which is really tragic, isn't it? It's very sad. Some of these women were never reported missing, and that does give you a little bit of insight. They were leading pretty difficult lives, perhaps, would have been homeless was it not for their job. It does make me very disheartened. I would hope that we had evolved as a culture a bit further. I think that when these bodies were found around 2010, 2011 is when it started, But some of these people had gone missing from 2007. I think one was 1994. I may be wrong about that. Don't hold me to that one. You know, all of the reporting that was done on these missing women was, you know, escorts, prostitutes. These women are missing. These women are, and even once their bodies were discovered, the reporting 10 years ago, the reporting was still, they were all escorts. They were all working on Backpage. They were all working as Craigslist, you know, prostitute. And here's my problem with that. It really diminishes the tragedy that this valuable human being was killed, had their lives taken from them, and was subjected to terror and horror when they shouldn't have been. They should have been, you know, given the freedom to live their lives and try to make better and hopefully have better fortune. And so I feel like that probably, I'm not sure what came first, the chicken or the egg, but I feel like the reporting, and this was reported by police in this manner when they were talking to reporters, they would say that every press conference starts with, well, they were working as escorts. All of these missing people were prostitutes. And what do you think happens to the rest of the story? People aren't interested in it. They just like, oh, well, you know, they made bad choices. They got what they got. And that was just wrong. You know, it shouldn't have been that way. So the question about the chicken and the egg is, if the police were involved, I know, wild speculation Wednesday. If the police were involved, then would they would have a reason to want to minimize the public's interest in the case, right? To diminish these women's lives. And in fact, we do know that some serial killers, they do target only prostitutes, and then they would later come on and tell people, researchers and detectives and such, you know, nobody cared. If a prostitute goes missing, if a prostitute dies, nobody cares. So I thought I'm less likely to be caught if I restrict, you know, my activity to prostitutes. Or you'll have others that believe they're doing a service for the greater community and say, well, I'm cleaning up the streets. These people are, you know, they bring a bad element. And so by killing them, then all the creeps, you know, they don't come around. And so I'm helping, and they get this complex where they're good guys, you know. So a lot of people can rationalize, you know, a lot of things in their lives. But here's my question. Is there something that we can learn from the serial killers that can enhance our own lives? Now I got my Dr. Jules psychology hat on. What do we learn from this? Anytime there is an extraordinary situation in life, anytime there is something that wanders so far outside of what is expected, that is a teachable moment. There's something that the differential between what is expected and what is outrageous, somewhere in there, that's the influence that we need to learn from. Something unusual that we had never seen before, had a great deal of power to make somebody behave in a way that was so far outside of human experience. Serial killers' behavior is audacious. It's obscene. It's animalistic. And so one has to say, wait a minute, you know, if tabula rasa is in fact true, if we come into the world a clean slate, and that it is all of our experiences and the things that we learn that make us who we are, then what in the world has to happen to a human being to take them from this pristine baby that's never had any experiences, and so their brain is a clean blank slate, and any story can be written on that will later, you know, influence behavior. What got written on Rex Heuermann's tabula, correct? Or Ted Bundy. What was it about Ted Bundy that made him, on the one hand, really love Diane and really want to be a family with she and her daughter, and be this really nice guy in the relationship, and yet he could walk right out the door and be the worst monster that society could imagine, right? So there's something to be learned from these guys, and you have to ask yourself, what is driving you? Why in the world are you doing these heinous things? So I am going to be quiet right now, and I'm going to play this video. All right.
Falls apart. She was frankly more woman than he could handle.
Talking about
He didn't
Diane.
have any money, and that kind of opened up a lot of the old self-doubt.
I experienced any number of insecurities with Diane. There are occasions when I felt that she expected a great deal more from me than I was really capable of giving. I was not in a position to take her out and squire her around in the manner in which she was accustomed, but or buy her clothing. I think I was coming apart the seams. Maybe she saw it. Maybe didn't understand, what I was going through. Throughout the summer, Diane and I corresponded less and less. And then Diane stopped writing, and I started to get fearful about what she was up to. I had this overwhelming feeling of rejection that stemmed not just her, but everything. The tail end of that summer is really a blank. I mean, it was a nightmare for me.
Rejection. I want to play this video. Some of you have already seen it. This is my video that I had made one day when I had my psychologist cap on. So let me play this. Hold on just one moment. Where is it? Here it is. Why isn't it playing? What happened? Houston, we have a problem. Uh-oh. It was playing earlier. Why wouldn't it play? Weird. I played it earlier, no trouble at all. Video clips. Okay, well, shoot. I know what I can do. I can pull the video up on my YouTube channel. Hold on just a second. Put it up. So revenge is through Ted Bundy's own words. Revenge drove him. And the question is, where is this need for revenge? Like, where is it coming from? What sorts of experiences does one have to have in order for revenge to become so dramatically big that you're willing to start killing surrogates, basically what it amounts to, killing surrogates for someone that may have harmed you at some point in your past? I thought this was going to be quick, and it is not. I'm so sorry. That's weird that it wouldn't play, but it's here somewhere. Hold on. Where are you? What a disaster. strange. I don't think I deleted it because I mean, it was on my StreamYard. I played it on my StreamYard. Maybe I did delete it off of my YouTube. Okay, well, I'm just going to forget about that because I don't know why it's not. It's very strange that it's not loading, yet it's on the screen. All right, so okay, so let me talk about this for a minute. So revenge, Ted Bundy's own words, that revenge is driving him, and that as he begins to have this terrible trouble with Diane, he gets just feeling disconnected, and he's angry, and he's brooding, and it gets so uncomfortable for him, this idea that perhaps he is being rejected. The feeling of rejection becomes so uncomfortable that he would actually name it a nightmare. He said that that summer was a nightmare for him. So what then is going on with someone like Rex Heuermann, or perhaps Kohberger, if in fact he did this? Correct? So I want to talk about Rex Heuermann. I'm going to share this page so that it really messed me up when I couldn't get that video to come up. It messed up even my visuals that I wanted to use, but that is okay. We will power on. Share the screen. All right, so this is just a picture of Rex Heuermann when he's in high school, basically. I don't know. I look at him and I think this high school picture, he just looks like a normal enough guy, doesn't he? He looks pretty average, pretty common. Well, the truth is he really wasn't common. He very, very similar to the story that we hear about Kohberger and the type of high school experience that Kohberger had. We're getting exactly the same type of reports from people that either went to school with Rex Heuermann all throughout, from elementary all the way to high school graduation, or neighbors, people that lived next door to the family, and the things that they heard or saw over the fence. And so it was an interesting intersect between the time when Rex was arrested and the time of their 40-year high school reunion. So Rex was arrested on July the 14th, and on the 28th, his high school had their 40th year reputation. And so it was interesting because this group of, there were athletes, there were people who had been like prom queens and, football sweethearts, and people that were in the band or that were in drama. But overall, every clique that you would think about experiencing in high school, they showed up for this 40-year class reunion. And of course, they were all talking about Rex Heuermann. And so it was interesting because one of the people there referred to him as the Phantom of Berner High School, Berner. So Rex Heuermann was a phantom. He was sometimes people would see him, but it wouldn't really register. He wasn't standing out in any way. He wasn't standing out as a evil, aggressive guy. He wasn't standing out as, kind of a psycho, crazy guy. He wasn't standing out as a, musician or anything. He just never seemed to be able to find his clique. He was a very, very lonely kid, all the way from the people that went to school with him, from elementary all the way through graduation high school. They all said the same thing about him. They thought that, he had lived a really, really lonely life. It was very interesting. One of the guys that was a lifeguard at the area of the beach where Heuermann worked for a little while as a teenager, he said that where you would sit on the, you know how lifeguards have the elevated chairs, that where you would sit on the elevated chair, that you could actually see Gilgo Beach, where the bodies were found for some of these people. I think so. If you had watched my video where I took Bonjour Realty interview, and I basically analyzed what I saw on that recording, and I made note during that video. I hope you guys will go and watch it. It's actually one of the videos that's probably in my top 5 personal favorites that I've done. But it was really clear to me eventually, after going through all of the information that I could find over and over, suddenly I realized this guy's using a script. He has a scripted description of his high school, of his childhood, of his relationship with his dad. He repeats the story exactly word for word with the same intonation, which tells me he practiced that. He wants you, what is in the script, what is in the story that he's telling, he's sending you information to make you form an opinion about him. That opinion being, I'm a good guy, I'm just like you. And what we find out from people that knew or know Rex Heuermann since elementary school all the way through high school is that Rex's life was anything but normal. Even though he developed a script to use when he's talking to people to say, hey, my dad loved me, life was great with old dad, and I am just like you. Look how lovable I am. I'm just a guy. Remember the interview? I'm just a guy. I just do this. I'm just a guy. I'm just like you. And in fact, doesn't seem like the people that went to school with him and graduated with him thought ever that he was just a guy. So what can we learn from the people that agreed to tell their stories and personal information and stories about Rex Heuermann? Well, so they say that he's basically the same guy that they remember in terms of his appearance. He's a lot heavier, but he always was very gawky. He's very tall, and he was always uncomfortable in his skin. He never really carried his body very well. Some of them use the same word, that he was hulking. And this was even in high school. Even though his face, he doesn't have this baby face that you see, his face is definitely hardened. And I think those of us that watched, kept up with the 2 hearings, the second one, the last one, he definitely, I think, was trying to appear menacing. His face changed. The first time I think that we saw him when he was first arrested and had the arraignment, he looked terrified. He looked really frightened. I used the words with my husband. He looks like a little boy. He's afraid. The second one, though, that is not the Heuermann that showed up. It was not Rex Heuermann, the frightened little kid. He looked demonic, evil. His picture's scary. So he has developed, at least at a very minimum, while the child is there, he does have this alternate that we got a glimpse of, I think, in this last hearing, and that was very hardened, very angry, menacing man. Everybody that agreed to talk about Rex Heuermann at this interview, they used the word victim. Victim was a word that was commonly used when describing Rex Heuermann, and that was really important to me. The fact that they're describing him as a victim is consistent with what we know about Ted Bundy and other, I guess you could say, notable serial killers. And you think, well, are you soft on Jules, are you soft on serial killers? Do you like them? No, I don't like them. And I'm certainly not being soft on them, but I do want to understand them. I do want to understand them so that we can educate our culture on, what are some of the things that can happen to us in childhood that would be consistent with becoming a violent, either criminally insane or sexually violent person in adulthood. And then let's try not to do those things, correct? So, and I know there's primary psychopathy, and that does seem to be something that is, genetic, or at least, the person is not formed that is how they are born. That is still up for debate. I do believe in primary psychopathy, but I think it's quite rare. I think most people who are antisocial have started out with a clean slate, and the crappy things that happened to them in life made them sad, hurt, rejected, angry. And then one day they said, you know what? If you can hurt me, I'm going to hurt you. And then they start acting out. It's basically, serial killing is basically an adult temper tantrum. All right. I don't know if John Kelly would agree with me on that, but, Okay, so he's described as a victim. There were some of the people there that said that he had a mean streak. That was later in high school. I thought that was very interesting because the picture that we get of him in elementary school when he's young, definitely a victim. People intentionally walking up and punching him in the head, and he would not respond. He would make no move to protect himself, and even worse, no one ever showed up to stand up for him. Now, the question is, was he going home and saying, hey, Dad, someone punched me in the head. I need your help. Or perhaps a punch in the head was something that Rex was used to. Maybe dear old Dad was much more violent than the kids at school. So why would he tell? He's used to getting hit on. He accepts it. But then when he gets to high school, he gets some bulk, he gets some size. I mean, he's always been tall and lanky, longer than the other kids. But once he gets to high school, testosterone kicks in. He begins to gain weight. Now he becomes a very formidable figure, even though he's really clumsy. He doesn't have an athletic bone in his body. There's a man that talked about in the neighborhood trying to get Rex to join in their street ball game. And the guy was saying, man, he would have been like the best goalie ever because he was so big and his arms were so long. And it would have been, if we'd had him on our team, we would have been winning every game. And he tried to get Rex to join in their little, just after school fun time street ball game. And he refused. He would just not be a part of the group at all and retreat, into his house. I want you to imagine for a minute how conflicted and uncomfortable it would be to want so desperately to be a part of something, to identify with any group, anything. The need for affiliation in terms of identity development, moral development is critical. It's critical for children to have a place, even if it's just one other friend, or to be in a gang. You know, that is realistically the inner city. Kids that join gangs, that is something that satisfies a lot of psychodynamic needs. So it's weird to think about, but you know, affiliation is critical. It's critical to growing up and being, you know, healthy and, I guess, sympathetic and empathetic with other human beings and animals and whatnot. So so this was a little boy turned high school who went from being a willing participant in his victimization, and I believe it was because he was also being victimized in his home, to then, after he got some bulk and he became, this large size, and people were like, oh, maybe I don't want to mess with him, he could really hurt me. I think that at that point, then he then does what is very typical of kids that are bullied. He becomes the bully. Now, he didn't outwardly, at least there's not been any reports that I've seen, he did not outwardly begin to target people and bully. No, but he would take their jabs and their teasing and their bullying. He'd take it to a point, but then when he had had enough, he became very mean and very vindictive. So people got scared of him at some point. John Parisi was one of the guys that was interviewed, and the way he described Rex Heuermann in high school, here's a quote: he was everybody's punching bag. Think about the sadness, how isolated and alone this kid felt, that he's being hurt at home, and then he goes to school, he gets the same thing from the kids at school. He definitely had the size to protect himself. He really did. But he doesn't seem to have had any guidance. It does not seem that there was anyone that stood up with him or for him. And we know in the research related to resilience that is the critical factor, is, having just one person who is there for you, that gives you a sense of grounding and identity, and that can make all the difference in the world for your identity formation. And he does not seem to have had that. So Rex Heuermann was picked on. He would just take it and take it and take it, and just walk away. But every now and then someone would push him too far, and he would reach his limit. And at that point, when he would reach that limit, he would be very menacing, and he would use his size. And people would back down and go, whoa, what? Why is he reacting? We've been teasing him for 583 days, and he's never acted out. We're not doing anything different today. We always pick on him. We always push at him. We always call him names and tease him. And why now today? There's no way to know why he would occasionally stand up and fight back. And when he did, it was frightening. When he did fight back, they responded, and moved away from him. That goes into this formation of antisocial, violent responses. If he takes it and takes it and takes it, and never forms a friendship, I'm sure somewhere in his mind he thought, well, this is what I'm supposed to do, so I'll just accept it, and maybe they'll like me, maybe they'll see that I'm a good guy or whatever. It never happened that way. He was never accepted, and no one was afraid of him. They just kept torturing him, and then just teasing him and hurting him. And then finally, when he gets the size, he gets the maturity on his body, he stands up and he's like, you know what? I'm fixing to kill you. And he probably meant it. that he said, wow, you mean when, the monster comes out in me, people leave me alone. When I'm menacing demon, people show me respect. And my dad mistreats me and I don't talk back to him. So yeah, maybe this whole criminally violent, insane persona is just what I need to make my life better. It's chilling. It's really chilling. One of the guys said, I was really scared of Rex. He was the type of guy that if he snapped, he would really hurt you. Rex was disillusioned and he was misguided. And so you had to be very careful when you were around him. That's a high school kid being described. Does that sound okay? I want you to think about, we go back to that beginning tabula rasa, that every little kid comes into the world a clean, pristine piece of paper, and you can write whatever story on that tablet that you want to write. You can write this kid's life story to go on and become president of the United States. You can write the story about this little kid to become, a famous doctor who learns to cure cancer, or you can write the story of degradation and victimization and pain and turn them into a prostitute or serial killer. It's up to you. The type of experiences that cause someone to reach a point in their life where they make a decision, I get respect and people stop hurting me when I am an evil demon. I guess that's who I'm at. I'm an evil demon. That's who I'm going to be. There it is. All right. No, I heard Coach Kev say this. No little girl ever wakes up and says, you know what? I think I'll get addicted to drugs and sell my body on the street for cash to buy more drugs. That is not how it works. It happens because of the combined totality of all the crappy things that life has handed that person, and they have to figure out how to live through it. They have to figure out how to accept these terrible experiences and still remain a functioning human being. And sometimes that leads people in their quest for survival. It can lead them into a really dark, dangerous place. So again, this guy said Rex was disillusioned. He was misguided. And you had to be really careful when you were around him. Rex never belonged anywhere. This school, Berner High School, it was a typical high school that it was filled with cliques, right? Everybody had their little clique that they were a member of. Some were jocks, some were the drama, the musicians, artists, history club, math club, and Rex Heuermann did not fit in anywhere. And the question is why? And I think it's because his dad was an abusive asshole. That's what I think. When you consider the reports of people that live next door, the things that they heard coming out of the house, when you consider that teachers, principals knowingly said, oh, yeah, Rex, well, he was arrested for shoplifting. And when he got caught, he punched the guy in the head. And so now he's at the police station. And somebody said, what? Isn't that kid? He doesn't ever say anything. People hit him and he just takes it. That'd be the one. So I wonder what made him go shoplift. I wonder what made him strike out and hit an adult. And the way the story goes is the principal said, well, he was fighting with his dad. So the school knew. And then you go back to my video where I do the analysis of the Bonjour Realty interview, and I point out and I show the script that Rex Heuermann has developed regarding his relationship with his dad, which I think is a lie. I don't think it's real. Go back and watch that and listen to it. He's telling you what his dad is not, but he developed a lie about his dad so that he could be viewed as just another guy, a normal guy who had a loving and involved dad. Okay. All right. So Heuermann was very gawky, clumsy physically and socially. He was uncool. Many of them described him not only as a victim, but actually just an outcast. He never found a clique. He never found a group. There was nowhere that he could form an identity. Nowhere. There was no affiliation, no attachment, nothing. None of those critical tasks that his brain is trying to solve through these certain years in his life. He didn't have that opportunity. So he fell back on the deficit. He did join the drama club, which is kind of strange. And you're like, oh my God, was he acting? No. He joined as a stagehand. So he's helping to build things, which goes along with his dad did woodworking. Rex claims that he does woodworking. And so he did act out his woodworking skills in, building the stages and helping out, with the backgrounds and stuff. And isn't that interesting? Think about this. This abused little kid, both abused at home, in my opinion, abused at home as well as abused, at school among his peers, that he did learn some skills from dad related to the woodworking. And that was his one attempt at reaching out to being a part of the bigger school population. That was his one attempt. And he still uses that story to try to seem normal. It's like the guy hasn't aged at all in his mind. It's like he is living in a Groundhog Day, and it's just, he's back in high school. He's unaccepted and unloved, and he's trying to find normality and acceptance through his woodworking knowledge or ability. People have bad things happen to them. People have bad things that happen to them, and they get stuck at that age. And so their body continues to age. They develop gray hair growing places it's not supposed to, falling out of their head. But internally, the identity, the personal identity, is still stuck at that age of wherever the trauma happened. And so, in a lot of ways, Rex seems like he's stuck in high school. When he was in high school, this was during that period of time where everybody had like the cool, feathered hair, and it was so pretty and sleek and, looked so great and lovely. And Rex Heuermann was not blessed with good hair. His hair, was unruly. And isn't it interesting? The famous, very successful architect in Manhattan, does he have a haircut? Or is he still wearing his high school unruly locks? Yes. So people get stuck at the age where trauma occurred. And they're trying to work out the problem with the identity development. Rex Heuermann would be invited by other architects and designers in Manhattan to go to happy hour. He would do that. He was meeting with them and having drinks with them several times a week. But Rex never joined with like his high school or his college alumni. He never he didn't go to any of the reunions. He's not social media. None of the people that was in his class said that he was ever hooked up social media with anyone. But he was making, with the architect and designer group, he was going to their happy hours regularly. It was common for him to be there. So my question is, was that where he found acceptance? Was with the architects? Or does he have a drinking problem? His brother has a drinking problem. His brother killed the chief of police in a drunk driving accident. It's pretty significant drunk driving, problem. So I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if it's just that he really enjoyed identifying with the architects and the designers. Maybe that is what was driving him. He just felt accepted among that group because he was gifted. Or maybe he just liked to drink. And so it's good to go drink there. I don't know, maybe. But he did. We have heard phone calls with him reaching out to some of these designers and, inviting them to do something, go look at a house, a property or something. But I don't know. Another guy who really didn't want to, he didn't want to engage in a lot of, bashing. And, he felt like everybody had their stories to tell about Rex. And he just said, he described Rex as nerdy. He said that Rex was nerdy and he was really smart. The high school, Burner High School that Rex went to, all the kids used to go to a beach called Tobay Beach. For a little while, Rex worked there, and they have found bodies very near Tobay Beach. Again, I think he's stuck. I think he's in Groundhog Day, high school, and he's mad. So one guy said that he knew Heuermann from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. And then when he heard the news about the arrest, he said, oh man, that totally fits. That's like the last piece of the puzzle to complete the picture. He's a weird guy. Now this is a guy that went to school with him, was in his class, knew him from kindergarten all the way through high school. Another guy, a teacher, said that Rex was a recluse. He was very quiet. He was always alone, and he rarely spoke. Anyone would identify him as weird, is what the teacher said. The actor Billy Baldwin, McCarty, in the movie Backdraft, he actually went to school there at Burner. He remembered Rex Heuermann. He knew who he was, but he said, he'd pass him in the hallway. They'd say hello to each other, but it was unremarkable. That it never occurred to him one way or the other that Rex would be a violent guy or a mean guy. But maybe that's because Baldwin treated him with respect, right? Maybe Rex didn't feel challenged or protective around Billy Baldwin because Baldwin didn't really get involved in these types of high school antics. Billy Baldwin said that he thought that Rex was weird, but it didn't really occur to him that he was like creepy or that he was so unusual that he would be the Long Island serial killer. He just seemed like, to Billy Baldwin, he just seemed like that Rex was painfully insecure, painfully shy, socially awkward, just made people feel uncomfortable because he himself was so uncomfortable. And we did see that in the Bonjour interview. But again, he said he didn't really seem to be terrifying. He was just an outcast who just could not find his group to fit into. Rex Heuermann grew up with 3 sisters, and then there was also a younger brother. I'm going to refrain from talking much about his dad because I do talk quite a bit about his relationship with his dad in the analysis of the Bonjour Realty video. But that the teachers at the school, that it was known that the dad was really hard on Rex. And one person that did not want to be named said that they believed that Ted, the father, aerospace engineer, that Ted hated Rex Heuermann because Rex was weak, that Rex was not a go-getter and motivated. I mean, you can imagine Ted Heuermann, an aerospace engineer. He did go on to fund a research group at a college in Nebraska that's still active today. This guy was a go-getter. This guy was, socially competent, obviously. And, even Ted Heuermann, the father, gossip says that he recognized that Rex was so dramatically different and that he was very hard on Rex, trying to get Rex to be more of a guy, right? Now, my blood runs cold with that image in my head because I think, okay, I see what's happening at home. It's like, why are you being weak? You got to fight. When the other boys are mean to you, you got to fight back, punch them in the head. If you give them a good one, beat on them, then they'll leave you alone and they'll like you. And if you're violent and you're aggressive, then all the girls will want to be with you. We know, right? The ultimate toxic masculinity, although it's rare that you'll hear me say that because I don't technically believe in toxic masculinity. I think there is absolutely very healthy masculinity. And I think men, it's okay for men to be men. But also abuse is abuse, whether it's coming from men or women. So, but in this case, that sort of conventional male with this belief of, men are supposed to be tough. And if some guy challenges you to a fight, that's what you need to do. But if Rex Heuermann's core, his initial makeup of his personality was one of a pacifist, that he wasn't aggressive, that he wasn't prone to violence in the proper environment, it must have been a terrible thing to have your dad not only reject you, but then to coach you to be everything that you're not. And remember, the reason for this video, the focus of this video is why are people becoming, serial killers? Like, what's happening in their life that's getting them back to this point of, I'm so far outside of normal human existence that I'm basically a vampire and I can just kill people at will and not experience any level of corrective emotion. All right. So whenever Rex would get, I know this is running very long, I apologize, but whenever Rex would get in trouble, the gossip among the parents, people would talk about Rex was acting out, or, that he got in a fight with somebody. And then, the parents would respond and say, well, he must have been fighting with his dad. And for those psychologists that are out there, actually now we do have insight into his history, another data point for that conduct disorder path to antisocial personality disorder. When Rex was around 10, 11, 12 years old, he actually had a shoplifting problem. So he was stealing. All right. I think here's something else about Rex Heuermann that I think is incredibly interesting. There's no doubt he's smart. Okay, with Kohberger, I got my doubts. You know what I mean? But with Rex Heuermann, I'm pretty convinced that he's a smart guy. And the reason that I'm convinced that he's a smart guy is that he did go to the New York Institute of Technology, very great school, with really high standards to be accepted. And he not only was accepted, but he flourished there. Once he got into an environment where they valued academic performance, not football, then Rex kind of grew into his own. Now, the people at New York Institute of Technology that knew him, he still struggled terribly to be a part of the group, but he did have admirers who liked the work that he was doing. He interacted a lot with the professors who would really give him a lot of positive feedback on his architectural skills. And so he developed a lot of success very early with the architectural stuff. And it's actually really incredibly impressive that a young man graduates college and within about 6 years, he's got an architecture firm in Manhattan. You've got professionals who have had 20 or 30 year careers that never get to a point that they can actually set up shop in Manhattan. It's very difficult to do. So he is smart. There's absolutely no doubt about it. He's smart. Koberger, I have doubts. All right. For a lot of reasons, I'll go into that on another video, but not this video. All right. So remember, when a child is denied affiliation and attachment, the part of their identity that connects them to humanity becomes stunted. And if they can't connect to humanity, if they never learn to trust in a primary caregiver, if they never find a group where they see a reflection of themselves in the other group members, like a football team, an inner city gang, or the Girl Scouts, the dance line, then they don't know how to reflect who they are. They don't know where they fit in. And a lot of the developmental challenges that we all had to work through, it gets frozen. And so things go off the rails. You then end up with an adult who's having a really hard time with sympathy for others and a complete and total failure in empathy. And that means that if there's a person out there walking around who has no sympathy or empathy for others, that's the primary ingredient for a monster. And when we say a lot of these serial killers that in their early years they tortured animals, it didn't bother them. They were curious. They were being a scientist, looking to see what would happen when they would do these things, because that part of connection to greater humanity was destroyed by the abuse. Lack of affiliation, lack of attachment, violent victimization. Now then, we're going to go all the way back to Ted Bundy. What did he say? When Diane began to distance herself from him, he had an overwhelming sensation of abandonment. It was a nightmare, and all he could think about was revenge. One of the best indicators, one of the strongest indicators of an adult who is a survivor of childhood trauma and abuse is a person who will work day and night to try to make their bully like them, rather than just saying, I don't deserve this and I'm going to walk away. Trauma creates a scenario where you feel frantic to get the approval of your abuser. And that's where revenge comes to play. When you were traumatized, when you were brutalized or bullied as a little kid, you became frustrated by that lack of attachment, whoever the bully is, whatever they did to you. And somehow you develop this idea, this belief gets into you that says, hey, I'm not okay. If I was okay, I would be accepted. And people that are mean to me, well, all I have to do is convince them that I'm okay, and then I will be. The minute they accept me, I'm okay. I can now move forward being accepted by this mean, hateful bully. It is a very frustrating process to just keep going back to that same type of bully over and over and over, trying to get them to approve, trying to get them to apologize, trying to get them to accept you and accept your ideas and your thoughts and your feelings. And anytime someone casts judgment on you, you respond in that initial trauma, and all you want to do is hurt that person that refuses to accept you. And revenge is the name of the game. And you seek revenge, you act out your anger and your aggression, your disappointment, your disillusionment, your sadness. You act it out on that person who is not giving you approval, the person that is hurting your feelings, the person's making fun of you, talking about you. You're so frustrated that they will not approve of you and accept you that you just keep going back and you try again. And when they deny you, you attack them. And every time you say to yourself, I'll make them sorry. I will treat them so bad and so horrible that eventually they're going to see that I'm worth approving of. And they never do. You'll never get the approval of your abuser. Never, 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 never. You're not going to get their approval. Never. Never. They're not going to apologize. Never. It is very healthy to take a deep breath and say, you know what? That person doesn't like me, and that's okay. I don't care. I wish they did, but for whatever reason, they just don't like me. So I don't think I'm going to stick around for any more of this abuse. And I'm just going to go right on down the road, because somewhere down the road, there will be someone who will approve of me. When people get stuck in that revenge, vicious circle, they will burn their own house down. We've literally seen that. Chris Watts did. So many people, you get stuck in revenge mode and you don't care what the price is to you, because the primary goal is that you make the other guy pay. So you'll get loans to pay for attorneys. You'll spend years and years dragging people into courtrooms for what? Nothing. For someone to say, see, I won, I'm right, you're wrong. It's a huge wasted effort. And oh my goodness, it's squandering not only your wealth, but anyone who donates. So why are you doing this? Why don't you just take a deep breath and go, gosh, I don't want to be like Ted Bundy and Rex Heuermann. I don't want to be a serial killer. I don't want to seek revenge. And I don't care if this person doesn't accept me, because I'm okay just like I am. Stop seeking acceptance from people who are not going to give that to you. Don't waste your money and your time and your effort in a courtroom that's going to laugh at you. Just forget about it all. Just go on. Set some goals for the future. Start using your time for goal attainment. You'll be a lot happier and healthier, and we won't have any more serial killers. It'd be a beautiful place to be on YouTube. All right. I'm done. Rant over. Okay. So what are you guys talking about? Let me see what y'all are saying. What a sad thing to hear from his dad that Rex is weak. Devastating. When you have a parent that offers that kind of judgment, it's devastating to the ego. It's devastating. Hey, Jessica Rutledge, welcome. Hey, critters. Men and mommy issues, easy attack to catch women sex workers. Absolutely, Annie. And you can't, with these serial killers, you can't go, these guys can't go back and attack the very people that actually were the ones that harmed them. So they find models to represent who hurt them most. It would make sense. He gets stuck in the high school years, puberty. he saw all the other guys, you know, finding girlfriends to date and whatnot. And nobody would give him the time of day. Be very interesting to look at the pictures of girls that were in his senior class. You know what I mean? I've seen people question like his mom's appearance, his wife's appearance. I want somebody to show me his high school yearbook. You know what I mean? Let's see. Will you say happy birthday, Maxwell Hawkins? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Maxwell Hawkins. Happy birthday to you. All right. How's that? Was that okay, Jessica? All right. The video stay up for later view. It certainly will, Kathy. My boy is 11. Happy birthday, 11-year-old Maxwell. You're amazing. All right. Okay. What a sad thing to hear. Time warp for someone trauma begins. I see young drinkers from junior high, potty jokes, droopy pants, shaggy hair. Absolutely. First time I'm learning of Rex. Oh my goodness, Jessica. That is a story. It is. I don't know how you ever get through the whole story. It is unbelievable. Like I said, I do have some videos up. Any of my videos, Jessica, where I'm talking about Rex Heuermann, or you see where I've made a video about the ogre of Gilgo. Also Shannon Gilbert. So all of those are related to Heuermann. And I'm also going to do a video this afternoon about Rex Heuermann that is actually about one of the police. That was not one of the police. One of the suspects in the case from 10 years ago. And it's a hell of a story. So this is going to be one of those stories that's going to be going on for months and months and months. Yes, Donna, everybody's punching bag. That's the way he was described. It's very sad. Years ago, me and my kids saw the movie See No Evil. We thought, okay, that is spot on, most likely the making of a monster. Remind me, Cinnamon, See No Evil. What? I can't remember what that is. See No Evil. I'm going to get on the Google. See No Evil. Let's see what this is. Oh, I haven't seen this movie. A group of delinquents are sent to clean up the Blackwell Hotel. Little do they know where it is. While investigating a call in an abandoned house, Officer Frank Williams and a rookie find a woman brutally blinded, but they are attacked by a huge psychopath with an axe. The rookie is killed, and Frank shoots the criminal in the head, but also has a severed arm. This is some very scary stuff, and this is just the description. 4 years later, I'm a wuss. I am. 4 years later, the mutilated Frank is relocated, working as a guard in the county detention center. Frank goes with some delinquents to the Blackwell Hotel, an abandoned place since a fire burnt the last 2 floors, with the purpose of cleaning the location, preparing it as a shelter for the homeless. In return, the criminals will have their sentences reduced. During the night, one inmate is captured by a deranged serial killer, collecting the eyes of his victim. Y'all gonna have to count me out on that movie night. I am gonna be watching High School Music. Bop, 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 up to the top, slip and slide and ride that rhythm. Yes, I'm not gonna be watching people eating their eyes out. Come on, people, tighten up. You see no evil. The wrestling guy Kane kept in a cage and abused by the mother. Oh, it's terrible, Cinnamon. Cinnamon, don't put that hogwash in your brain, girl. We're going to watch The Sound of Music, okay? Climb every mountain, forge every stream. That's my beautiful voice. Follow every rainbow. Phenomenal content and presentation. You are too kind, truly. I think, do we have let's see. All right, people. Yes, you did finally make a live. Everybody's punching back. Hey, Brittany, there was no notice. Yeah, I am not getting any love from the YouTube algorithm. That is for certain. Hey, Scarlet Summer, welcome. Glad you're here. Elizabeth Launder, welcome. Good to see you. Time warp for some when trauma begins. Okay. Art Vandelay gone dark. Rochelle Black, welcome, my friend. How are you doing? Ooh, you guys are doing a lot of talking. I think I've got everybody. Let me see. Kaz P, welcome. Good to see you. Justice Jane. Kaza T, welcome. Tina JP, how you doing? All right. Sammy, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Kelly O, good to have you here. I love Kelly O because she disagrees with me. That's great. It's a good thing to disagree and have a civil conversation. Hey, Daisy Jones. Crab Sleuthin. Stopping by, working on a video and stuff for tonight's live. It's going to be good. I hope you can make it. I will be there with bells on, girl. Mark my words. All right. I was trying to say hello to everybody. I don't want to miss anyone. Hi, Annie Ruler. I know I did talk to you. Kathy R is here. Welcome, Kathy. Okay, I think I got everybody. You know what I'm gonna say? Y'all know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna say it. I'm getting ready. I'm fixing to say it. Please, I'm begging you. I'm trying to get in bed with the YouTube algorithm. That means I need you to press that little button with the thumbs up. Also, I'd invite you to subscribe if you want to. You don't necessarily have to, but I do need that thumbs up. That's critical. So please. It's called shameless pandering, okay? If you'll hit the thumbs up, I promise I'll talk about anything you want to talk about on my next live. All you got to do is just underneath this video say, I want you to talk about fill in the blank. And I promise you, I will. All right? Y'all have a good day. Don't leave without hitting the thumbs up. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Hey, AP, thank you so much. Y'all have a good evening. Hey, Leo, y'all have a wonderful afternoon, and I will see you tonight on Crime Sleuth It.